All right, guys, this week you're in for a treat. This episode of Vetrepreneurs, we're going to be interviewing a barbershop owner where hair is everything. He goes from doing haircuts in the barracks to haircuts in a beautiful barbershop like this. Stay All right, guys, this week we're with John Leon, or known to his family and friends as JP. All right, so JP owns a barbershop, but before we get into the barbershop, we're gonna get in, as you guys can see, John just got out of the military not too long ago, so he still doesn't know what to do with his hands. So hopefully by the end of this interview, we get him a little bit more relaxed. All right, John, so tell us about your time in the military.
All right, so I joined back in 2015. I was I think I had barely just turned 19.
Okay.
I joined beginning of 2015, January, first week of January. I came in as a 91 Bravo, a wheeled vehicle mechanic. Yep. I used to give people a hard time though, because when I joined, I was already cutting hair before then. So
yeah,
I would tell my chief and my first sergeant that I wasn't a 91 Bravo, I was a 91 barber. So I used to give people a hard time. I think it just stuck with me. I told myself I was never gonna cut hair again.
Yeah.
Until I realized how much haircuts were important in the Army. You know, people needed haircuts, stay in regs. I didn't know that. I told myself I was never gonna pick up clippers again when I joined. Yeah. And then when I came in, it was like, dude, you cut hair? And I was like, damn. And I set myself up. So
you was the barracks barber?
Oh yeah, all day, yeah.
Friday night, let's go to JP's room, get lined up.
Used to come to my room in AIT until I got caught there, got in trouble for cutting hair. And when we deployed, I did OAR as well, same thing. Everyone all the way through my chain of command, first sergeant, commander, all the flight warrants, everyone used to just come get laced up by me, everyone. Yeah.
Everybody. What was you charging in the barracks? What was your barracks rate? $2, $5?
Nah, the barracks was mostly, it was a little weird, I wasn't really consistent with it,
Yeah.
Most of the time it was like $20, sometimes first sergeant would tell me to help a soldier out if, he didn't have, enough funds or whatever, and he had to go to the board. So I was always there for those type of soldiers as well too. Even though I didn't want to, but you can't say no to top. So I would knock them out.
Get in here.
I would just
shave
go ahead,
up,
knock them out, get them ready for the board, and look good. And
all right, cool. So before you, so you were a barber before you joined. Then you said you wasn't gonna cut no more. Got back in the Army. You got in the Army, started cutting hair. And then, but it's my understanding, before you started a barbershop, you actually was in trucking. You owned a truck, is that correct?
Correct. So when I went overseas, with all the hair cutting that I did, I had a little sports car, it was my baby, and thank God it held its value well. And, I had it in storage the whole 9 months and I was cutting hair nonstop. A lot of people were like, man, I bet when you get home, you're gonna pay off that car. But I didn't, instead, that monthly payment wasn't affecting me, I took that money instead and I went ahead and I invested in a rig, because originally that's what I've always wanted to do. That's why I came in as a mechanic. Yeah. I've always loved trucks because my dad growing up was a truck driver. Okay. My uncle ended up doing it, so I've always been surrounded by trucks, always loved it. I lived pretty much in my dad's truck with him, and then when I came mechanic, I was trying to take those tools, so when I started my own over-the-road company once I got out. So I tried the trucking stuff for a little bit. I did it for about 2-3 years. I bought a truck. My wife helped me out a lot with that, while I was still playing active duty and all that. My wife was the one taking care of the whole payroll and whatnot, and dealing with the lows and with my drivers. But it's definitely very stressful. With one rig, it's hard to make it. So me and her finally decided to make that call. Once we started this barbershop, we saw this was a lot more fluent. Yeah. And she knew I wasn't gonna get out of this too quick. As I stated, I made a connection with a lot of customers and stuff, and I ended up loving the place. So here I am now. We ended up just recently, trying to slowly get out of the trucking business. I would never shut that door. I'm always like that as well. I still one day want to go back to that, but for right now, I mean, this is, I think, where my heart's at.
So you had one truck?
I had one rig, correct.
And you had one driver.
Correct.
So how did you make money with the trucking? He run the loads, and do you give him a cut on there? How is
it's still your truck. It's still your liability. It's your overhead. You know, I bought you had to be in charge of the maintenance and whatnot. So I was running for UPS, actually, UPS owner-operator, right? He was dealing with those loads dropping hook. You know, I didn't have a trailer. He would just pick up UPS's trailers from the warehouse to warehouse. And at the end of the day, once we got the pay stubs in, you know, we would just cut him the check for however mileage he drove. Yeah. And that's how that works. You know?
And you did all that while active duty?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I was still doing
How?
It was hard. It was very hard, you know, because then as you know, as I was trying to do that, I ended up becoming an NCO. You know, for those that don't know, a sergeant. Yeah. They put me in a motor sergeant position, and it was hectic. You know, I was dealing with work and stuff. So, you know, once again, I can't give props to my wife that she was there for that whole. You know, she was there for all that to be paying the drivers and dealing with the maintenance. You know, she would just give me a heads up. I get home late. You know, Army. You know, you get out of work late. You know, 2000, 8 o'clock at night, whatever. And she would just give me a heads up. Hey, you know, I already paid the driver this and that. The truck's going into the shop. I'd be like, okay, thank you.
Oh, man.
You know, and thank God the driver understood as well that, you know, like he knew I had another life going on, so he wouldn't bother me at all, really. You know, we talk every 2 to 3 weeks, and I can't give him enough props too for, you know, dealing with me as a boss like that, you know.
Household 6, holding it down. Yeah. So you transitioned from owning a rig, the truck, and then you use that, and then you transitioned to opening up a barbershop. Was that always the plan, or is that just how it happened?
No, absolutely not. So actually, when I got stationed, my first duty station was Fort Bliss, Texas, El Paso. When I went over there, actually, you know, as a mechanic and all that, I told myself once I came back from overseas, I told my wife, like, you know, I was gonna get out. We were actually kind of thinking about staying there and still, once again, do something with trucks. You know, I already had, you know, my knowledge from being a mechanic, a diesel mechanic. I thought I was gonna stay there, and that didn't work out. You know, once I got back, you know, I didn't like the desert too much. I wanted to come back to the green, back to the East Coast. So I was like, let's go to Georgia. You know, I was like, I wanted to be close to home, but not too close to home, because I know where I'm from in Orlando. You know, it's getting very overpopulated. It's hectic over there now. The crime rates, you know, I knew it just wasn't, you know, a great city for my kids personally. You know, I just wanted something a little more calm. So I was trying to go to Savannah, actually. Then I had my commander, he was like, hey man, like, you know, you're trying to get out. You know, I know you're gonna work. You know, I know one day you're gonna, a lot of people were always saying I was gonna open a barbershop, and I was always like, no, I wasn't. He's like, why don't you try out Fort Gordon over there in Augusta, Georgia? I did not know what Fort Gordon was, Augusta, nothing. So I was just like, okay. So when I went back to retention, I was like, hey, I want to go to Fort Gordon. He was like, Fort Gordon? I was like, yeah, I don't know either. My commander told me to just try it out. And he was just like, all right. Then 2 weeks down the line, I was at the range. They texted me and they were like, hey, you're going to Fort Gordon. I still knew nothing about the city. Then I just started Googling, whatever. Once I got here, I saw the growth of the city. I ended up liking the people, the community. I liked how everybody was. It's calm. You know, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of outdoor stuff to do around here. And I enjoyed all that. And then my biggest issue was when I got here is I couldn't find a barber. In El Paso, there was a lot of barbers, a lot of my style.
That's very uncommon around the military base,
correct. Too. I just couldn't find my style type of haircuts what I'm used to. You know, in El Paso, I used to get my haircut over there by a Puerto Rican guy, you know, and stuff like that, and another Dominican guy. And then, you know, when I got here, it was like couldn't really find any barbers, you know, that would use razors all the time and hot towels. And that was my biggest thing. So for about 2-3 years, I was cutting my own hair. My wife ended up for my birthday buying me a self-cut mirror, and I would cut my own hair. And every time my family would come visit, my brother-in-law, he's a barber as well, my wife's brother. You know, I would tell him, hey man, like, we're struggling out here. There's no barbers out here. And he thought I was kidding. One day, you know, when COVID first hit and everything slowed down, me and him, we just ended up going barbershop to barbershop, just looking around and seeing everything. And he noticed what I was talking about. Like, it wasn't our style from back in Florida, where all the barbers are like, you know, top notch from the islands, and they're from New York, they're from everywhere. Florida has a high standard of, you know, barbers. So I was like, man, so he was like, man, you're right, there's really nothing here. So, you know, I give a lot of props to him. He's also my business partner as well. You know, he picked up his family of 4, and they came over here with no clients, no nothing. You know, he couldn't rely on the Army. You know, he did everything on his own U-Haul truck. You know, he got out here, I helped him unload. And just like that, man, we took off. We hit the ground running hard, you know, thank God. You know, I couldn't be more grateful for the community, you know, of Grovetown and, you know, Ivy Falls and all these plazas around here, all these neighborhoods that, you know, definitely helped us grow and spread the word.
Wow, man. So all right, so, well, we got the old Barracks barber, and he says that they have a very high standard of cutting hair, bring luxury to hair cutting. So we're going to put those skills to the test. as King Leonidas said. So stay tuned. Our one and only JP is gonna hook me up because as you guys can see, I desperately need it. So yeah, stay tuned.